Welcome back. They've been trying for about 2 decades, but the Bell family may finally have their wish. This week they offered a nice chunky premium to take the yellow metal company private. Perhaps they should have thought of that a long time ago. David, I'll ask you, because Bright, I'm pretty sure Bell is not on your radar, but the Bell family really has been wanting to delist Bell for a very long time. And you think, well, why has it taken them so long to offer a decent premium?
I think because they were trying to steal it at a very cheap price, and that's why no one would accept it. Finally, they had to pay up, and I'm sure it'll go through this time. But it's sad. It's it's a decent business. It's pretty small, but another one just doesn't find any reason to remain listed, just unloved, and obviously trading at a significant discount to what they appear to think their value is. And I think shareholders will, whoever is left out there will probably accept this offer. It's no use hanging on. But good luck to them. As a private company, they'll probably find it a lot easier and cheaper to function.
Yeah, and I mean, I was looking at the chart, David, and I mean, it's trading now at the takeout level, which is 2007 prices, still below net asset value. But to your point, I mean, if you've been a shareholder of Bell, it's been tough, and finally you're getting a pile of cash. You're going to take it every time.
Of course you're going to, and I look, a lot of it's not their fault. I mean, there's been no fixed investment in this country for a decade or so. So it's been very hard for businesses like that to operate. And they have to go seek income elsewhere, out the country and that. But and even for shareholders, as you mentioned, it's been a tough ride. So take it and go, find something else. I think there are a lot of other little businesses that you can go into.
So then there is Sasfin, a 37-year run on the JSE, and this one is also heading to the happy valley where pesky shareholders don't ask awkward questions. Although if anyone can explain that partial offer, please go ahead. David, you probably read the sense, and I know you're an insider here, but the partial offer, I mean, I don't know, it looks, I don't see how it works. Surely the JSE is going to say no, do a full offer.
No, they would have approved it. They would have approved it, but I'm sure that there will be, no one's going to want to hang around, and they will offer their shares. So I don't think, we won't remain listed. I don't think the company will remain listed. And I think it's, once again, you've got a company where there's very little free float, where the business, as we've seen, and I'm not saying anything confidential now, we've seen the results haven't been that great. It's been a very difficult environment in which they're operating. So once more, I think whoever is hanging around has got minor shareholders will accept it.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be easier for Sasfin to operate as a private company.
Yeah, and also they've got that big tax question hanging over their heads. Bright, just very quickly, one of the viewers on Stockwatch this week also asked, do you have a list of any other potential takeouts? So you're starting to see the small cap companies tumble on the JSE. Do you think there's any other obvious contenders to be bought out?
I absolutely have no idea, because I don't follow that market with keen interest. But there are some nice, great operators, in the small cap space. Names like Advitech come to mind, Caro, those type of companies. But I'm not sure if they would be, potential targets for delisting, because they seem to be just trotting along, doing okay, because they operate in the sector of the market where, you don't have a choice but to send your kids to school. So it's kind of like a need. So it's very different than, in working in heavy yellow machinery design and distribution and sales, like Bell, for example, where when companies spend a lot, when the government spends a lot on infrastructure, you see a lot of spending coming down to a company like Bell. So they don't have similar problems. But yeah, I don't think they might be, they could be potentially listing, but they still look cheap. So it doesn't mean they can't be taken out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I made a list. I just did a search on the JSE. All stocks below 1.5 billion, debt to equity below 0.5, and forget the third requirement. There are about 30 shares.
Small free float.
Yeah. Just there are so many of them. I mean, Crooks Brothers. I mean, what about COP? I mean, CAP or whatever. I mean, there are dozens. It's just which one. Or maybe all of them.
Yeah, you should put that, make a new index, the buyout list. Well, it was a terrible week, as we said earlier, if you were long NASDAQ and short old school. However, the Biden administration, considering using the most severe trade restrictions available if companies like Tokyo Electron and ASML Holding continue giving access to China to advanced semiconductor technology. Storm in a motherboard or the beginning of the end? Okay, it's not the beginning of the end, but Bright, do you think this is going to put pressure on the chip manufacturers?
So I tweeted that these are, the in between geopolitics essentially, and unfortunately, it's ugly to see. But this is interesting that it's Biden doing this because it's sort of anticipating that Trump could potentially use this as a form of ammo for running. But I don't think Trump needs any ammo for, like trade wars or anything of that nature. Because he's doing exceptionally well after that assassination attempt, and even before that, he was doing very well in the polls. So I don't know. I just think the Democrats are very desperate now, so they're trying everything, even including the playbook of the Republicans against them, and it's not going to work. I don't think it's going to work unless they put someone who is not senile, doesn't have any Parkinson's or anything of that name, sorry to old people, by the way, as a potential, U.S. president, a capable, basically, runner. Just put the name, put the envelope on the table, and back him fully, or her. But they seem not to be doing that. They seem to be going in circles and bumping each other's heads, and that's not how a country is run. And they're clearly failing, which is why the Republicans are getting all the momentum behind them.
But David, what Biden did, Trump started the trade wars. Biden continued them. Biden has not pulled back. In fact, he's put a whole bunch more tariffs and restrictions. The only difference was Trump did it on Twitter and Biden does it by, official channels. And this has longer term implications regardless who's in the White House. We're getting a Cold War forming here.
Listen, I'm not that bright when it comes to economics, and or even to trade policy. But I can't understand, because if you start to put tariffs, the consumers pay. Someone has to pay for it. So if you're going to start loading tariffs onto Chinese goods, you can't ignore the Chinese market. America's not going to suddenly be able to manufacture what China manufactures in great quantity. So you put massive tariffs on, the consumer pays. It's inflationary. That's my simple reading of it. So I really get bothered when everybody turns to tariff. And it seems that even Vance is, he sees the public enemy as China because they lost jobs to China, which, if you go back to his childhood, cost jobs in the Appalachians where he is, and factories closed down, and he blames his mother's heroin habit because of that, because there was no poverty. So you're coming from that kind of background, but I'm with Bright in the sense that you don't run a country like this. You don't run a country. If you're a strong country, you don't start imposing sanctions and imposing those kind of measures on China. Just keep going ahead. China will get it like Russia got it. Russia still functioning, still quite rich, as a matter of fact, because it's selling its oil and selling all its goods elsewhere. So I just think it's, they should focus on outmaneuvering the Chinese rather than trying to stop selling technology to them.
Yeah, you can't regulate yourself to success. Yeah. You must ask us, South Africa.
Yes, we're a prime example of,
does not work. So is the Sendas buyout offer off, and do we care? Well, yes, apparently we do. David, I'm going to trust that you've read Sense this morning.
It's the one company I've never followed, and I should have followed, because I think if I had to put it on a percentage, the number of questions that are asked about Sendas is probably 50% of them, and I know very little. So I got to give it to Bright, who knows a lot more than I do about Sendas.
I used to know a lot about Sendas, and then it just disintegrated to what it is now. I don't know what's even left on the brands.
And it's disintegrated further, so they can't, as I understand it, they can't go ahead with the...
Yeah, they haven't got their funding got pulled or
Buyout.
something, and it's
Exactly.
now off the table, and there is no more buyout. I did read the sense.
Okay. All right. Well, yes.
It's tough.
Yes, yes, it is. Especially when, you have, I suppose, the whole issue was at a board level and shareholder level and non-disclosure issues.
Yeah.
And it's quite complicated for a very small company. So I'm sorry I brought it up at all. What's also off today is everything. According to the FT, businesses across the world, from airlines to financial services and media groups, have been hit by global IT outage. Witness Bright and his connection issues. And also, according to multiple posts on social media, the outage has been blamed on the security updates from US group CrowdStrike. Bright, we were talking about CrowdStrike last year, after last week, after the Sibanye Stillwater hacking.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Of course, it's still my favorite company when it comes to security. But obviously, that comes with a massive risk if you're going to send out updates that are glitchy. CrowdStrike, get your ish together. This is what I'm going to say.
No, what he said.
I can't be the face of CrowdStrike and then they go around and have, a couple of scripts that doesn't work and grounds the whole, airline industry. But yeah, anyways, it's unfortunate. The share price is down about 20%. So I liked it more 20% ago. So I'll definitely be buying more of that. But I did say in our conversation that it's not just CrowdStrike. There's also Palo Alto Network, which is up about 2.5% pre-market on the news that their competitor is floundering. And obviously there is Cloudflare as well. So this is why diversification is important for me and as a lesson for everyone watching this.
Yeah, well...
Why are there no circuit breakers? If something goes wrong, revert to where you were.
That's too simple a question.
They will be doing that, definitely. It's just that, I don't know, the good question we should be asking, why does Microsoft not have the circuit breakers for the industry it supports? Because it's CrowdStrike who's supporting Microsoft. And Microsoft seems to be getting away with murder here. But, I'm just a speculator here and an investor. I'm invested in Microsoft as well.
Okay, we have to leave it there. You've eaten into our quirk time. We can't tell you about the Nigerian man who played for 75 hours on a soccer game
that
online.
I'd never heard of.
So David and Bright, thanks for joining us. Have a good evening and a great weekend.